few days and the next 2 days are going to be pretty warm. We do have a storm system coming in supposedly tomorrow that will help raise the humidity, but it's still not going to get that cool tomorrow. So nice and warm days for us ahead. This is usually our midsummer weather, not our September weather here in Ely, Minnesota. So this is quite unusual for us. But the bears here, they don't like it that much either. So if you haven't noticed yet, they're black in color. And on a day like today in September where it's 90 degrees, it can be quite stressful for them. They heat up really easily with that black coat. And plus, it is a fur coat. So again, it warms really quick. It's very insulative. And so in direct sunlight, that can be a problem for the bears. That's why the water features in the enclosure are really important. Allows them to cool off. That is the main way they cool off. They cannot sweat like a human can. They pant to also help cool off as well. So you can see Lucky is using that enrichment toy there. He's got a grip on it with one of his paws while he uses his long and that he laces through those holes in the enrichment toy to pull out the food items. We filled that enrichment toy with mostly tree nuts and a few other things such as dried fruits, apricots, and pineapple varieties. And Lucky's going to, as you can see, manipulate that item to try to get those food items out. Now, some of these holes are big enough for his tongue to fit in. Others aren't so much, so he will have to do a good deal of actually moving. Obviously, they're not finding those in the wild, but it does constitute a nice protein for them, and it does come from animals. That would be one example of the 10% of their diet that in the wild that is made up of other animals. Other things in that category would include insects. In fact, insects are the biggest whole chunk of meat that the bears eat of that 10% of their diet that is meat. The vast majority of that is insects. So things like forest tent caterpillars, larvae of bees, wasps, hornets, and ants are all menu items or options. Adult insects that are hard-bodied and have hard-developed exoskeletons are actually undigestible by the bears. They may eat them inadvertently, such as when they go into a hive to get the larvae bees, not the honey, like most people tend to think. Winnie the Pooh is a bit of a liar in that category. Black bears could kind of care less about honey. They're looking for those larvae bees. And when they go into those hives to get those larvae bees, they will inadvertently and accidentally eat some adults in the process, and they will be excreted, or they will show in the scat whole. And so sometimes we can tell when Lucky here has been raiding those hives that are built in the enclosures by those bees, wasps, hornets, or ants, because you'll see whole ants, bees, wasps, or hornets in his scat when he goes to the bathroom afterwards. Again, they're not able to digest the adults, but the offspring or the larvae are very highly valued by the black bear, and they will regularly go after them. There's a few other things that might make up that 10% animal protein in that diet. That may include deer fawns as well. But again, just like the bird eggs, they're only on the menu for a short amount of time, at which point they get off the menu because the fawns develop faster than the bears are able to keep up with them. Also, the fawns don't have black winter coats on to run around in, whereas if the bears chase the fawns around wearing black winter coats, it expends a lot of energy. And so once the fawns learn to run, they're about as fast as a black bear. They say the leanest of black bears can get to about 30 miles per hour. And so we know for a fact none of our bears here at the center will be getting up to 30 miles per hour, as all of our bears here at the center are on the chunkier side of things. So as you can see, Lucky's still taking his sweet time here. A couple updates here about the center. Now, in a usual year, we are able to stay open late into October, and we expect that to happen this year as well. So our projected closing date is currently October 29th. So if you're still thinking about coming up, season change and other reasons for this fall, make sure to pay us a visit if we're still open, but keep on our Facebook and our website to make sure that we still keep our regular hours. As the tourism starts to die down in Ely, which hasn't happened yet, we're still humming right along. There's still lots of people coming up before school starts tomorrow. Most K through 12 in Minnesota starts school bright and early tomorrow morning. So, but we still had a lot of people up this past weekend. It was a great Labor Day weekend, and we expect the weekends to be pretty busy yet as we get into that fall color change. And some of that is starting. We've seen some of the first tree species start to change, which is a sure sign that summer is over. So it is kind of weird to have this 90-degree day, or extra weird to have this 90-degree day in September, as typically this is when we see our leaves change. And actually, if you look into the back of the enclosure, you will see some ash trees that are starting to yellow. Those are often some of the first trees we have in this area that will start to lose their leaves. And they're already starting to change. The ones in the enclosure, the ones out of the enclosure, and all around the Ely area are starting to change. Generally speaking, the roadside trees turn a little quicker, and so as you drive up to Ely. As you get closer, you'll notice some of those things happening on the sides of the roads even already. And so we are fastly approaching that fall time. And hopefully we will lose this warmer weather and settle in for some cooler evenings. That'll be more pleasurable for us as humans that live up here because we don't have to deal with this hot weather. And also, obviously, for the bears. Their new winter coats are starting to grow in. And again, this kind of heat can be hard on them. So we're hoping for some cool nights coming up. But like I mentioned, with that forecast, we're going to have to wait a few days before it does cool down. Some other exciting things that happen in the fall, Ely's Harvest Moon Festival. If you haven't heard of that, I highly recommend you check it out, look it up, and see if you'd be interested in hanging around for that. It's one of like the 3 or 4 festivals that get hosted in the Ely area over the course of the summer. Really fun festival. I highly recommend, again, go checking that out and seeing if you'd be interested in doing that. We are typically open to that festival, and so we do like to see the people that come up for that and teach them a little bit about bears if they're so willing to come in and see our bears. Also, if you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure you follow along on our social medias. We're on all the major social media, and we do regularly post and update and whatnot, and funny stuff with the bears, cute stuff with the bears, but of course, educational stuff as well. And then also just important updates like new projects, new behavioral updates on bears, things like that. In addition to not only having all that fun educational videos and footage on our social media, you can also find it on our website. There's lots of informative and educational resources there as well, including videos of the bears and their behavior, as well as our live cams on the website. So for those of you here today, if you do want to check up on the bears and you can't make it back to Ely, Minnesota to do so, you can always check us out at bear.org. There we do have a few different live cams to choose from that feature our bears. The cams are free, and as long as you have internet access, you can access them wherever you would have that internet access. So from the comfort of your work computer, the pocket where you keep your cell phone, as long as you have service and internet, you can see what the bears are up to, access to our live cams. We are currently now open from 10 to 4, so we have started our fall hours. So for those of you who are still planning on up to Ely and checking this out, just be aware. We did announce that on our website and all the places you would find that information. We now be open daily, that's every single day, from 10 to 4 to the public, with a tour going out at the top of every hour. So the tour times are now 11, noon, 1, 2, and the last tour goes out at 3. So as you can see, Lucky here, our 16-year-old male, is still working on that enrichment toy, and he will continue to do so until he has determined all of his preferred food items are out of there. So, for example, roasted peanuts are probably the least preferred food that we feed the bears. In fact, they highly prefer the peanuts in the shell over the roasted shelled peanuts. Maybe it's part of the roasting, but our bears would prefer to crack their own peanuts in the shell, spit that shell out, and eat the peanuts inside there rather than the roasted ones that we give them that require no extra activity to actually eat. So that is quite interesting. So there must be some nutritional value that they're missing or a taste they do not like in that roasted part of the peanut, but they do prefer the peanuts in the shell. We just have to be careful about how many shelled peanuts we feed the bears. Peanut shells are pretty toxic to other plants, and as part of a survival strategy, the peanut shell does choke out and kill lots of other plants so that the peanut plant can continue to expand. And so that's why we try to hesitate from throwing peanuts in the shell all over the enclosure, because if we did it enough, soon the enclosure would be void of most vegetation besides peanut plants. But peanut plants do not grow here in Minnesota, so you would eventually just have a large dirt pen. And so in order to keep the enclosure nice and vegetated, we're very limited on how many peanuts in the shell we like to give the bears, but it does show off some cool adaptations. One thing all black bears can do, whether they've seen a peanut in their life or not, is actually shell it in their mouth with their built-in nutcracker. So that's pretty neat. We do like to show that to our folks on the behind-the-scenes tour, where we get you up close to the bears and we give them those peanuts, and you can see it for yourself as they shell the peanuts quite masterfully. In fact, Lucky here can take about 3 to 5 peanuts in his mouth at once and shell them. So he's learned how to do it quite well. But again, it's not necessarily a learned behavior. bears innately or naturally know how to do this. Even a bear who's never seen a peanut in its life, if you were to present it with one, it would be able to do that immediately. Ted, one of our previous bears who had very little, if any, natural behaviors, he was even able to shell the peanuts. Although he did not do it the same way our other bears do it here at the center, or the wild bears use their diastemas as the nutcracker. Ted crushed it in a little bit different fashion, but he was able to still figure it out. So again, that's another example of a natural or innate behavior that the bears have. Alrighty, folks. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the broadcast for you. Thanks, everyone who tuned in online today and joined us from far and away from the comfort of their homes or wherever they're tuning into our Bear broadcasting program. And thank you for all of you who visited today. There's a handful of you here making the Bear Center part of your Labor Day plans, and we do appreciate that. We also appreciate that admission price all of you paid to be here. We are a nonprofit, so that's basically a donation that you made to the center, and we're very appreciative of it. And I know Lucky here can't thank you himself, so I will do it on his behalf. Whether he outwardly expresses it or not, the Bears are very happy to see people because it's you people that give us the money to pay for the Bears' food. We have explained that to them, not that they can understand it, but we have told Lucky that. So believe it or not, he is happy to see you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thanks, everyone who came out today, and happy Labor Day to all those logged on and here at the center today. And we hope you have a great rest of your Labor Day.